Good Erev Shabbos, everybody. This session of Chavrusah with Rosh is being recorded on Erev Shabbos. Parshas told us the Mitkaria Black Friday. For those that were expecting it to air live about 4 hours ago or more, the reason why that didn't happen is that right as I was about to begin the live stream, I got a phone call from Cincinnati from the Rav there, Rav Yosef Al, to close details of my going there for a scholar in residence, Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach. That's the week of December, Shabbos of December 10th, I think it is. Parshas Vayishlach. So go. We'll be sending out flyers. Everyone who's in Cincinnati is welcome, and if you're not in Cincinnati that weekend, then go to Cincinnati for that weekend and catch a action-packed Shabbos that starts from Thursday night with a Mishmar shir straight through a Sunday morning shir and Shurim straight through Shabbos, including Motzai Shabbos, a nice Mlava Malka presentation. So get yourselves to Cincinnati. Okay, but since I did schedule the shir, I want to at least learn a little bit today. At least at the very least, some Gemara Rashi. We're going to have to keep it short. It's already an hour and a half or so before Shabbos comes in. So, but that should at least be a kiyum to the promised shir. Without further ado, let's begin the Gemara with Rashi. I don't know if but it's plain to say just on the Gemara Rashi. So we start the Gemara. Amar Shmuel. Name Malon Yad be Barzel, right? It says in the psukim that talk about implicating a person for murder, that he committed the crime with an even yad, with a rock in hand, right? So it says it regarding the yad. But then the pasuk just goes on to say, "O bebarzo," or with a stone, or with a rather iron. I'm sorry. So it's even yad, right? A stone in hand, or bebarzo, stam, iron. So it's midday malon and yad bebarzo. So why does it say barzo yad with iron in hand, like it says by the stone? Right. So So it says, says the Gemara, what does it teach you? It doesn't say, Yad by Barzel, Shar Barzel Memis Bekolshu, right? That the, right, iron could cause death with the least amount of iron. And now the Gemara is going to further qualify that, right? So now by Even Yad, it says, stone in hand, meaning the stone gives the ability for the hand to be lethal, right? There's or as we're going to learn the other nuances in Rishonim of that a stone they had a good grip on and yad, and therefore was able to smite the guy effectively to effectively kill him. All right, but it doesn't say that by the iron, because iron doesn't require a good grip, right? It doesn't require, any type of, you don't need a handle on it, right? Barzel is Bakolshu. Tanya Namech, we learned that way in the Brisa, meaning Shmuel seems to have been Mechaven to a Brisa. So as we learned that way in the Brisa, also Rebbe says, it was revealed and known to before he who said and created rope, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sharbarzo Memis Bekol Shahu, that iron, right, can cause death with even the most minimal amount. Lefikach lo da Torah bo shir, therefore Torah did not say an amount, because even yad means a rock that fills the hand, meaning it fills the measure. It was enough, to fill the hand, right, to fill the measure of being able to kill the guy. So fill the hand means fill the measure. as I understand it. And it didn't say it by Barzel, because Barzel, even the smallest amount of iron can be lethal. Right? Therefore, Torah did not say an amount, because any iron can be lethal. Vahani milba, of course, that which we say is the barze mivras, the way Rashi and most Rishonim learn. All right, we'll see. Tosas says else otherwise, but we're talking about that you punctured him. That's the way Rashi and, as I recall, the Ad Ramah learn, meaning that which even the most minimal amount of iron can be lethal. It's because even the most minimal, even a pin, is able to puncture a heart or in the jugular vein, artery, and cause death. Right? I believe that that's how Rashi learns the Gemara, as I recall. But let's take a look in Rashi himself. Normally, Yad Barz doesn't say yad, a handful, right? Iron in hand. It just says or with iron, rock in hand, or with iron. Doesn't say yad, doesn't say hand. By barzo, by the iron. Kamoshanemar be'evin yad or be'kli eitz yad, because it says by stone. And Rashi also points out, even the Torah even said also by wooden vessels, kli eitz yad, a wooden vessel in hand, right? In hand. It's a handful. It's a handful, meaning it's enough to give him the requisite mass that his smiting will be a death strike. Right? As you know, here's enough to grab on. To be sure, we need a certain amount that to determine that this is lethal mass. Right? But by iron just says, or with a vessel of iron. He hit him, doesn't say yad. Shabarza memis bekolshu. So because this teaches you that it doesn't require any minimal mass, because even the most minimal piece of iron can kill. This says Rashi, because you could puncture him, a pin. Like the smallest pin, you could stick it into a person's jugular vein, or his food pipe, right, or in his heart. The barze mivres, punch belas, right? Remember that we're Dafka talking about if you punctured him, right? Punched is no cave, to puncture, right? But if you use the iron like a stick, not as a like a sword, as something that to puncture the guy. If you use it as a stick, then yes, it does require a minimal mass, right? The chiddush that iron, habarz menes b'kolshu, is because of its ability to puncture a person, right? Right, but if you're going to use it as a rod, it does require mass. Right? Yeah. Now, so as I recall, Taisus is going to have a problem with this. So let's look at Taisus. Iron can kill even with the most minimal mass. Because says Rashi, because you stick him, in his heart or in his food pipe. Vikosha says, so this, I find this difficult. I could do that with a good, solid toothpick. Coats means a thorn, but also means a good solid toothpick. Right? You could imagine like the high quality ones. They're very small, and you could probably puncture a person in the heart and do terrible, cause death also. Right? All right, so I think you could puncture with a good sharpened pencil also. Right, and it could be very thin. Right, now, I'm not so sure, but if you would have a sewing needle thin toothpick, I think it'll splinter all over the guy. Right, it'll just, I would stick up for Rashi. I'm not sure that I find this kasha such a strong kasha, and we'll take a look at the other Rishonim, right? Because a coats, but a coats has a certain critical mass. But let's say you would have a toothpick as thin as a sewing needle. A toothpick that thin won't even pick your teeth effectively. It'll splinter as soon as you faces any resistance. Whereas a needle, it'll puncture. So I'm not so sure. I think Rashi literally meant to say, and Rashi, thinks the Gemara meant to say, it really needle thin, and then I can't think of another substance that needle thin will have that same type of resilience that it'll puncture through flesh, fat, and get all the way to the heart. I think a toothpick being as thin as a sewing needle will probably splinter. That's what I think. So I'm surprised at why Tosfos considers this such a bomb kasha. Yeah, coats, but a coats has a certain thickness to it. But with the metal, we go down to almost no thickness whatsoever, as per a sewing needle. So I'm really not sure. But let's see what Tosfos says. So now we say elsewhere in Shas that as I recall, what this means is that the iron could cause an infection, right? It's not we're not even just talking about tetanus right there, but iron could be toxic, and I think that's what he means. So that so let's say it's not necessarily you were punctured. So in Tosfos's way of looking at things, that you could be punctured by a good solid toothpick, also, even if it's very, very thin. As thin as a needle, I really don't know, but it sounds like Tosfos assumes so, right? We're not talking about puncturing. We're talking about a cut that becomes toxic, right? So we're not talking about a cut necessarily that bled out in so much as a cut that becomes toxic that could also kill a person. I believe that's Pshat and Tosfos, and we'll have to see. First of all, I'm coming in cold on an Erev Shabbos. We're just doing Chavrusah over here. I want to reconsider this Tosfos of Shas, if that is the Pshat. As I recall, that's what it means. Mitzvah of Zarif is it's toxic. There's toxicity to metal that there isn't in wood and other things. And the question is whether other Rishonim may disagree. And did Tosfos really mean it? Is Tosfos not willing to admit that a sewing needle, if you make a toothpick that thin, that I don't think it'll get very far. It won't even be a good toothpick, let alone be able to puncture a person and through the heart like a needle could. Seems to me. I don't know. No, we're talking about barzel, right? So this is iron. Right. Admittedly, there are soft metals, and presumably by soft metals, if they are soft like as opposed to barzel, they would have to be check their mass, and maybe they would indeed not be able to puncture a guy when extremely thin. Right. So this is what I'm saying. All right. Let's take a look at the Yad Ramah, if there's any Yad Ramah on this. Let's take a look. There's Yad Ramah. We said last time, Yad Ramah is like the Rishon. He is the Rishon on the Sanhadrin and Baba Basra. It's a rare treat to have Yad Ramah, especially, Keseder on just about the whole Masechta. So Amar Shua, I'm reading from the Yad Ramah. Right? So why does it not say Yad, term hand, by Barzel, as it says, like it says by stone? So, because it says Be'even Yad, the stone is big enough that he has a grip on it and he can hit the person, a lethal death blow. So it's talking about that part is in his hand, and there's part sticking out. Nami mashma, right? Right, and the to hit also it makes it sound that way, that if he hit him with a stone, it means part of the stone is sticking out of the hand. So, so being hit by stone, and you say Even Yad, that his grip on the stone left enough stone sticking out to really kill the guy. Right? If it's going to be a very small stone, he's not going to die with it. Because all that's going to stick out of his fist is going to be very little, right? Which is not going to be enough to kill the guy. Barzel, but iron. If nothing is sticking out beyond a little bit, right? Just a little bit sticks out. Yeshbo shir, it has the amount. Just turn the page. Shir misa has the amount to cause death. It has enough mass. The fikach lo nemar yad, right? And therefore doesn't say yad, that you're holding it and still there's enough sticking out beyond your hand. Because even without having a firm grip on it, you could still stick it in his flesh without having a firm grip with your whole hand. Right, like you take a pin between two fingers, and right. Betania, and also we learned in the Brisa, Rebbe says, go to do a right. Is right. He quotes shorthand. He expects you to know the rest of the Gemara by heart. The rest of the Brisa. It was known and and revealed to the one above that Barzo can hurt, even could kill. I mean, even with the most minimal mass. And therefore the Torah did not give it, ascribe an amount, as it says, Be'even Yad Asher Yamuspa. Right? He is bringing the pasuk. That's very clear. Be'even Asher Yamuspa, the stone, and a person dies. Right? It's it has to have that requisite amount of mass. Right? Okay, means there seems to be an alternate drasha. Evan Asher Yamuspa is in what the Yad Ramah adds. That means we didn't just have to get it from the term Evan Yad. The Yad Ramah said there was another place to learn it out from. Evan Asher Yamuspa, a stone which a person will die from. Right. So again, ascribe it not just any stone, a stone that has the requisite mass to kill a person. All right, so that means there's more than one source for this din. Shmuel got it from Even Yad, but we also get it from the pasuk of Even Asher Yamuspa, a stone, but not any stone, a stone that a person is expected to die from it. But Dr. Barzimir, so like he quotes the Gemara, Barzimir, how does he teach it? Lashon nekev, puncture, just like Rashi. And now he brings a proof to his pshat that Barze means to puncture. Lashon Barze the Chavisa is like sticking a faucet into a keg, right? Right. So you put a berez into a chavis, right? Right. So you have to puncture the barrel to put the faucet in. Right. So barza means to puncture, like the way we puncture to install a faucet in a barrel. I believe we call barza arco, but if you hit him with the iron, lengthwise, not, puncturing, but lengthwise. You hit him with the length of it. Hareo Kevin, as it's functioning like a stone, but Shirabayan will require an estimation. We had the requisite mass because over there it's not a puncture wound. It's to be clobbered, it's to be clubbed. So see whether the club had the requisite mass. It makes it whether the club was made out of wood, out of stone, or out of metal. Since clubbing is causing death by virtue of the mass of the club, right? So you have to see if it had enough mass. So like we're told, Barza Shapir Piv Chad The Torah was only very stringent with barzel, with iron, because it has a sharp edge, right? And it could, be stuck into a person's heart or in his food pipe, and he will die. So the Yad Ramah is just like Rashi, totally behind Rashi over here on this. And and I don't know, Tosas, I don't even understand the full measure of it. Yeah, why does Tosas assume that you could puncture a person's heart with a very thin toothpick? I would have thought that, from my experience, a toothpick with some mass, yes, but mass like the same like a sewing needle, I don't think so. But a sewing needle will do the job. That's what I think. Is it a machlokes and mitzias? That's a question. Is this a machlokes Rashi and Yad Ramah on one hand, and Tosas on the other, machlokes and mitzias? Right, that Tosas believed you could have a needle thin thorn that could actually puncture a person's heart. Did he believe that? And whereas Rashi and Yaramah did not believe that, is it a machlokas and mitzias, or is there a lumdish machlokas? All right, that's something to think about. Let's think about that. And it's getting close to Shabbos. I just did it to. There should be continuity, especially as you saw in your notifications that there would be a live stream, and I didn't want to let you down totally. So with a 4-hour delay, at least we got something done. But here's something to think about over Shabbos. Is this machlokas Rashi and Yad Ramah, Rashi and Yad Ramah on one hand, and Tosas on the other, a machlokas and mitzias? Or they having an argument about the reality, or is there a lumdisha machlokas over here? We'll both think about it over the weekend, and we'll pick it up next week. Be'ez Hashem Yisborach. Everyone have a good Shabbos.